Haven't we all dreamed of being a celebrity? To make people know your name and recognize you on the street, to make tons of money in a heartbeat. I sure have. Well, I still do, but I don't think I'll be making any attempts to achieve that goal anytime soon. Because I already tried recently, and it was a spectacular failure to say the least. It all started when I came across a casting call online. It was for some new show on a major TV network. They were looking for a child actor to play the starring role. With my heart racing, I started to look through the criteria. 13 to 14 years old, me. Light hair, me. Athletic, me again. The whole description fit me perfectly, that I could already see my name in the opening credits. I didn't think twice. I immediately sent a bunch of my photos and my contact information to the company's email address listed on the site. For the next couple of days, I was on edge. I couldn't focus on anything. I finally got a phone call from a casting manager who invited me to audition. I was over the moon. Well, until the manager added, if your parents can't accompany you, make sure to bring a written permission from them. I'll send you the form in an email, alright? My heart sank, but I tried to stay calm. Yeah, sure, I answered, even though I already knew that was gonna be a huge problem for me. The thing is, I come from a very traditional family. My parents consider education to be the most important thing for their kids, which is why I knew they'd be against me getting a job in the entertainment industry while still being in school. Later that day, I approached my mom. I figured she'd be easier to convince. But the second she realized what I wanted to do, she was bound and determined to prevent me from doing it. She told my dad as soon as he got home from work, and together they started lecturing me on how I know nothing about what's right for me and how I'd be throwing my future out the window. They didn't even let me get a word in. I was devastated. I mean, what could I do? Should I just agree with my parents and forget about it? Wait till I'm 18? Promise to put all the money I make into my college fund? Well, I didn't like any of those options, so I decided to go for something way more risky. I was gonna forge my mom's signature. I know that was a horrible and stupid decision, but back then, for some reason, I thought that if I could prove my parents how serious and dedicated I am, they'd eventually understand and forgive me for going behind their backs. I rehearsed for hours, until I was pretty satisfied with my performance. I printed out the permission form and carefully signed my mom's name. I looked it over carefully. Seemed pretty legit to me. I even created a fake email account to put with my mom's contact information. This should work, I thought to myself, and went to bed. Finally, the day of audition came. I was so nervous, but mostly excited. I told my parents that I was gonna hang out with some friends after school. I took a bus, and at 4 p.m. sharp, I was at the address stated in the email. I waited for about an hour with the other boys, who all looked more or less like me. They seemed so confident and intimidating. It made me start to panic. I was just about to leave when they called my name. This is it. I stood up, pulled myself together, and walked into the casting room. This was my moment to shine. I thought I did pretty great considering the pressure. My voice didn't crack, I didn't forget my lines, I was in character the whole time. The only bad thing about my performance was when they noticed that my mom forgot to put her phone number in the contact details. I wasn't ready for this. I tried to improvise and said that she doesn't like to talk over the phone and they could get a hold of her by email. I wasn't sure if they bought it, but that's all I could come up with on the spot. When the audition was over, I headed home. And that's when it all went down. I was so lost in my head by the events of that day that I accidentally got on the wrong bus. Actually, I didn't even notice until the last stop. So there I was, all alone in some remote part of the town with no money and no clue as to how I was gonna get home. It was already getting dark by this point, so, naturally, didn't take my mom long to call and start freaking out that I wasn't home yet. I had no other choice but to ask her to come and pick me up. My mom and dad came for me and demanded an explanation. At first, I tried to make up a convincing story, but their faces clearly told me that they weren't buying any of it. So I told them everything. I was in big trouble. I couldn't remember my parents ever being so mad at me. They contacted that TV network, and even though the manager told them that I actually got the part, can you believe it? My parents still broke off the contract. I begged them to change their mind, but they weren't budging. I got grounded for 3 whole months. My parents took away my phone and my computer. But the worst part was the way they looked at me. As if they weren't even sure that I'm their son after what I did. As if they could never trust me again. It hit me hard. And I know that I never want to see that look ever again. I decided to hold off on pursuing my acting career for a while. At least until I'll be able to do it without lying to and hurting the people that I love.